Welcome, folks, one and all, to Let's Replay Lords of Magic, the Special Edition, which bundles the original game and the expansion, Legends of Aurak. Lords of Magic was released in 1997 for the PC, and Legends of Aurak was released in 1998, also for the PC. Developed by Impressions Games and published by Sierra Online, Lords of Magic is a turn-based strategy game with RPG elements that is set in a fantasy world where you must take on the role of a lord opposing Balkoth, the Lord of Death, who seeks to destroy all of the faiths and factions for the dark god Golgoth. What makes this game special for me is that it's a strategy game that I really enjoy, and I don't play too many strategy games. I first discovered this game while around at a friend's house. They had this game, I briefly played as the water faction and got summarily beaten, but I had that itch to play more, and so eventually I got this game for my birthday, and I've been playing it occasionally ever since. I don't play strategy games too often, and this one is one that I haven't played for a very long time. In fact, the last time I played it was the original Let's Play. So this is going to be a new and not new experience all at the same time. Let us select Lords of Magic, the original game, and dive right in. Fortunately, the game is pretty good with explaining what you need to do. So let us go and see if I can save the land of Aurak from Balkoth's wrath.
Please select your leader type.
The land of Aurak. You are about to enter the mystical land of Aurak. There are 8 regions in Aurak corresponding to the magic faiths: life, death, order, chaos, fire, water, earth, and air. The heart of each region is its great temple, where followers come to worship. In these dark times, the great temples have been overrun by foul creatures, as Balkoth, Lord of Death, seeks to conquer all of Aurak. You must now choose to be a warrior, a mage, or a thief, and lead one of these regions as its lord. To win the game, you must save Aurak by killing Lord Balkoth, either alone or with allies. If you are killed, you lose. And the game is not joking there. If you lose your lord, it is game over. If you somehow have control of multiple lords, the game will continue, but you really don't want to lose one of your lords. Let us select our class.
Warrior.
Are we a warrior? Superior in melee combat, these are the strongest and toughest champions. Skilled in the strategies of battle, warriors have the most powerful attack and defense capabilities, and are able to rally their troops to victory. Often astride great war beasts, they travel the far reaches of Aurak in search of worthy opponents. If you want to be a lord that hits things really hard and moves really quickly, this is the class for you, though not every champion has a steed. We're not going to be a warrior though. I was a warrior last time, specifically a warrior of chaos. We're not picking chaos this time.
Mage.
Then there is mage. Well versed in arcane lore, mages can research and cast a variety of powerful spells. Though weak in physical combat, these learned champions can become formidable opponents as they acquire spells to destroy their enemies, raise the dead, and even change the very surface of Aurak. Mages are a class that I typically don't utilize that often, and if I do, I don't utilize them that well because they require a lot of prep work to become effective. You need to research a lot of spells, and they're quite frail, but their spells are mighty. But we're not going to be picking mage.
Thief.
We're going to be picking thief. Skilled in the subtle arts of stealth, thieves are the craftiest of champions. They can move virtually unseen, lurking in the shadows as they spy, steal, and kidnap. True to their furtive nature, thieves prefer to attack from a distance with ranged weapons, rather than engage in direct combat. They are the ones you want to pick if you want to have a ranged champion. There are artifacts that will allow your heroes to gain a ranged attack, but if you want one guaranteed, pick the thief. Also, they can go stealth and sneak around. They also can typically move quite quickly, and they can knock people unconscious if they find them out and about, and you can interrogate them for information. If I'll be able to actually do that remains to be seen. But either way, we're picking thief.
The circle of life has no beginning or end. Choose your faith and write your own destiny.
Each one of the 8 Faiths here has a different champion for each of the professions, and not all of them are created equally. Some are great at a chosen profession, others not so great. And you can see that each of the opposing faiths are opposite each other. We have air opposite earth, we have fire opposite water, we have order opposite chaos, and finally life opposite death. The only one of these that you can't pick when you first start playing the game is death.
Worships death.
Because you need to have defeated Balkoth and thus defeated the main game to be able to play as Balkoth. Now let us go through each of the choices one after another and see which one we're going to select.
Worships air.
Let's start with air. Flitting silently through the air and scouting the foe's movements are this fairy champion's strength. He defends well enough with his bow, but when alone, is wise to rely on stealth. This is the best thief class in the game. The air champion is super fast, has great range capabilities, and is really good with stealth, but is exceptionally frail in melee combat. We're not going to be picking that one though. On the opposite side
Worships earth.
is Earth, arguably the worst of the thieves. Quiet and resilient, halfling champions have made themselves invaluable to the Lords of Earth. With their knack for sneakiness and burglary, they mystify and confuse foes simply by following their own nature. They're not very fast, their range capabilities aren't that great, but they can attack a bit better. Then you have life.
Worships life.
These elven champions are rarely noticed, but their cold blades and unseen arrows project an undeniable presence on the field of battle. They're pretty good. I remember life having really good ranged combatants, but we're not going to be life.
Worships chaos.
Quiet yet deadly, the women of the tribes are equal of the men of their warriors' society. Champion trackers and armed scouts, they lend a war party much needed intelligence and fight with berserk energy if provoked. Look at that attack stat. They are really good in melee. If you want a rogue that can handle their own when surrounded, pick Chaos. We're not going to though.
Worships water.
With their steel-tipped javelins and fast reflexes, these water champions are as much warrior as thief, except that they understand the value of stealth and the potential of a well-laid ambush. Pretty decent stats, pretty competent thief. Not going to pick you.
Worships fire.
Having turned away from their brethren in ages past, these dark dwarfs have been twisted from the ways of honor and truth toward the ways of nastiness and pain. Armed with crossbows and cruelly spiked knuckles, they live for larceny. That is a ridiculously powerful attack and armor. They also have a lot of hit points, but they aren't very fast and their ranged attack is so-so, and we're not going to be picking that one. We're going to be picking Order. Now, Order is the exact opposite of what I picked before, and in many respects, Order is the most balanced of the faiths, with the exception of Death, because Death are exceptionally powerful. Air have really good ranged combatants and thieves, and they move really quickly. Fire have some really powerful warriors. Life have some really good archers. Earth have really strong infantry and really good armor on those infantry units, but they're very slow. Chaos, ridiculously powerful attack units, but really low defense. Water have mastery of water, not surprisingly, and Death pretty much is good at everything.
Worships order.
We're going to pick the Order champion, who has a really good description. The champion scouts of Order know well the value of current news. None are better at finding the vital bit of wisdom that can save warriors' lives, and tip the scales of battle to victory. The reason why I like this character primarily is because they have a fantastic set of voice lines. And also, the Order faction is very Arthurian. There are lots of knights, there are lots of crossbowmen, and warriors armed with maces. Very traditional fantasy. You can see here that we have 9 attack, 9 armor, 17 hit points, no mana capabilities, 18 movement, 12 ranged attack, which is pretty good. We start at level 4, if we were to select medium, we'd start at level 3. And we also have 9 strength, 12 dexterity, 7 wisdom, and an artifact. We won't be able to see the properties of the artifact until we start. As for what difficulty we're going on, I'm going to pick easy because I'm not particularly great at this game, and I'm still very rusty. If we decide to play as Balkoth after winning, we will definitely up the difficulty. But for this first playthrough in the replay, we're going to select easy and name our Lord. And I have a name in mind. We are going to be called Lord Bradigan. I have no idea why the name Bradigan stuck in my head, but it just seems to fit this character. And so, we have gone through the classes, talked about the various factions, and we've picked our Lord. Now let us begin our effort to save Urak. You are of the Arkans, who walk the path of order. The people of your region need a hero to cleanse their land of invaders, and unite them as one nation. By contrast, Balkoth's Death region and the deceitful people of Chaos are well established. Each has a powerful lord, with armies in the field and guarding the capital, and a legendary creature protecting the Great Temple. The remaining lords each struggle to survive with only a small army and a small garrison in the capital. They strive to liberate their great temples from the dark shadow of evil, which has infested them in the wake of Balkoth's rise to power. Conquer these regions, or liberate the great temples of friendly lords to win their fealty. This is the map. The map is different every time you load up a new game. And so, we have the Realm of Order. We have our Lord Bradigan. We have a unit of crossbowmen and 2 units of macemen, each with 3 people apiece. These 2 units are level 2, this one's level 1, and we are level 4. If we double click ourselves, we can see all of these stats here, including things like our luck, and our health recovery, our sight radius, there's our rate of fire, there's our hit recovery rate, and there is our melee resistance. And here is our item. If we double click it, we get to see its stats. Any thief in Urak will gain +1 armor and +1 increased stealth with the Amulet of Defense. Some items are restricted to certain classes, some are restricted to certain faiths. This one is perfectly suited for us. Now, we have the crossbowmen here. We can see all their stats. They have a really good rate of fire, much better than us, but also their melee attack is a lot worse. Then we have the footmen, who I incorrectly identified as macemen. Decent attack, passable defense. We want to make sure that none of these units perish, because these units we have with no upkeep right now. If we wanted to get replacement units, we would have to go to one of these structures and recruit a unit temporarily. Right now, we cannot buy units, we can only rent them. You can see here that we constantly have a walk icon. We can only move so far. When it goes from green to white, that indicates that it will take multiple turns to get to where you want to go. Right now, time is not passing. It is Order's turn. We can do whatever we like within the limits of our movement. Also, if we click our champion here,
I am here.
we get dialogue, and I love this champion's dialogue. You travel Urak in parties of up to 3 champions, each with a retinue of up to 3 comrades. Parties move slower when not led by a champion. To move the party, select it, click on the map to set a path, and again to execute the move. Also, love this music. The currently selected party appears at the bottom of the screen with separate sections for each champion and his retinue. Double-click on the image of any unit to view its attributes and upkeep cost, or drag the image to move it from one champion's retinue to another. To move a unit out of the party, select it and click on a map destination. We don't want to see this one again. What we want to do right now is we want to start clearing out these outposts and other structures that we can find around our settlement. There currently aren't any things that will allow us to gain more resources, and that's unfortunate, but we'll find those as we move about. So let us go over to here. It's a small outpost, level 1. This masonry dwelling has been looted and taken over by an assortment of subterranean creatures. We can choose to enter and get into combat. We can choose to retreat. Sometimes it's better to do that. Or we can auto-calculate the combat and let the game decide if we're going to win. We're not going to do that, at least not for the first combat, so we're going to enter. Combat. To start and pause combat, click on the red light at the bottom or press the space bar. Select your party members, either on the map or in the lower panel, to give them orders while combat is paused or running. The mouse pointer changes as it moves over the screen to show the selected unit's default order. To issue other orders, such as casting spells, use the buttons above the unit images. To access additional spells, right-click on the spell button after selecting a mage. Note that some units are comprised of multiple figures in combat, which can only be selected and ordered as a single unit. Hold the cursor over any unit and you'll see its statistics in the lower left corner of the screen. Thanks for the basic tutorial there on combat. We have our units here, and our opponents are opposite. Now, we have Goblin Archers, 2 units of them, level 1. We are going to stand our ground here.
We await your orders.
Apart from you.
Troops, move!
You're going to move there to protect our crossbowmen. We're going to have Lord Bradigan and the crossbowmen
Yes, sir.
try and soften up these archers by using aimed missile. Aimed missile reduces the speed of the crossbowmen's attacks, but it does make them more powerful.
Steady, ready, fire!
What's the plan?
What is the plan, Lord Bradigan? Oh, that set of voice files. Lord Bradigan sounds so very quietly confident and smug.
With pleasure.
With pleasure indeed. Let us unpause and see what the goblins do. The goblins are going to, start getting ready to fire. The crossbowmen are going to move forward.
Ready, sir.
I actually want you to,
That is the
wait
battle.
and have
Forward.
these 2
To battle,
units
to the front.
move forward. You're probably not going to do anything right now. The downside of us having infantry units is that we move rather slowly.
We stand ready.
Now let us
Fire!
see if we can get some shots
What's
off.
the plan?
Need to be
With
careful.
pleasure.
We
There we
stand
go.
ready.
We have lured them
At
out.
once.
I have a
With haste.
Now start moving back. They're going to begin moving. And eventually they
Yes,
will
sir.
begin to fire
Between
on
the
my
eyes.
infantry
I
units.
have a plan.
Once I get my infantry units in combat,
pleasure.
we
We
shouldn't
await your
have a
orders.
problem.
Make 'em
We'll
have.
have you
We await
charge
your-
in, we'll
let 'em
have you
it
charge
back.
in, and see how we do. Doing pretty well so far. That's one
stand
goblin
ready.
taken care of.
Fire!
We'll have you
Fire.
also start firing, and you start
You
firing
want some of
there.
this?
Ideally, we don't want to take too much damage. Now, units can heal. It takes time. We're in melee now, though, so we shouldn't
Ready to
really
fight.
have
Let's
a
move, lad.
problem.
Make 'em have.
Nope, no problem there at all. We won! Results of combat. Here you can see how all participants in the preceding combat fared. Spoils of gold, ale, crystals and fame, and perhaps artifacts are displayed at the bottom. We're not going to get any artifacts here. Conquered gold mines, breweries, crystal mines and statues continue to produce gold, ale, magic crystals and fame respectively. Every turn they remain under your control. Healing units. Wounded adventurers recover lost hit points every turn they rest in one location, and more if inside a structure. Healing takes time, but it is absolutely crucial to nurture fledgling adventurers, so they mature into experienced units. Losing good units in combat before they are able to gain experience can be devastating to your future success. That is the game warning you, take your time. You have plenty of time. It's best to make sure these initial units survive. We got 10 gold, 3 ale, 12 crystals, and 2 fame. And we're actually going to wait in this structure. Before we do that though, let us look at these here. We have the unit roster, where we can see all the units that we have. We have the selected party upkeep, and the expenses, and income. Followers arrive in 6 turns. We don't really have any followers that we can use because we don't have our capital city of Accord up and running. As for our relationship to other factions, Order, we have nothing because we are Order. We have an aversion to fire, we have an empathy with life, neutral to Earth, hostility with Chaos, that makes sense, they're the faction directly opposed to us. Water is neutral, death is distaste, do not be deceived by that, that is going to get a lot worse, and we trust air. If we happen to liberate the temple for air, there's a good chance that air would actually join our side, and we would have 2 lords, but air are to the north of us, and we really don't want to move away from our current base of operations. Now these are the spells we currently know, Righteous Cause and Righteous Bolt, and we can see the rough military power of each faction here. Order is that, fire is that, life is that, earth is that, chaos is pretty strong, water is that, death is ridiculously powerful, and air is that. I'm not so worried about chaos because chaos tends to self-implode if you're not controlling them, but who knows what the future will hold. I'll tell you what the future will hold though, us ending our turn, because we need to rest, so clicking this ends the turn. Fire has their go, then life, earth, chaos, water, death, air. Resources in Urak. Supplies of gold, ale and magic crystals are displayed below, along with your fame. You can conduct trade and be healed in the capital, and hire additional help in the surrounding buildings. A negative number beside a resource means that your supply of that resource is diminishing. If you don't acquire more of the needed resource, or dismiss some costly adventurers, you will eventually go broke, and some troops may start to desert you. Increase your wealth, experience and fame by exploring caves and dungeons, but beware. The further you stray from the capital, the more dangerous your adventure becomes. Your first goal is to gain strength and liberate your great temple from the forces of darkness. Thanks for the memo there, tutorial. We've been given our objective, we've won our first combat, and soon we shall travel probably to that one there to liberate there, and then see about resting a bit before exploring more.
I am here.
That you are.
What's the plan?
The plan is we go over there.
I have a plan.
That is my favourite line. I have a plan. It's just said in such a brilliant way. That is why I picked this person. That is why we are Lord Bradigan. Shallow reason? Maybe. But we are the opposite faction to what we were before. And so, when we come back, folks, we will begin our second turn. Do more combat, gain more experience for our units, and slowly work towards liberating the Great Temple, which is very likely to the north of us. It typically is when it comes to order. And so, I'll catch you next time, folks, and I'll see you then. Later.